In the case of People versus Conrad Murray, Dr. Murray is present with his counsel, Mr. Chernoff, Mr. Flanagan, Mr. Gorgian, and Mr. Pena. The people are represented by their counsel, Mr. Walgren and Ms. Brazil. All 12 jurors and the alternates have joined us and are present. To everybody, good morning. To the jurors, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Nice to see you. At this time, we're going to resume with the presentation by the defense. And Mr. Chernoff, good morning. You may call your next witness.
Thank you, Judge. We're going to call Gerry Causey.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly state that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Please be seated. Please state your name for the record. Spell your first and last names.
My name is Gerry Causey. Gerry Causey.
Mr. Causey, good morning.
Good morning.
Let me provide you with some introductory instructions that I give to every witness in every case. The first instruction is to please sit back and relax.
Okay.
The second instruction is to speak in a loud voice, and that way everyone can hear you. The third instruction is to answer a question yes or no if it's called for, rather than using slang like which can be tricky.
Okay.
The last instruction, Mr. Causey, is to wait until you hear an entire question before you even start to answer it. In our everyday lives, many of us are used to speaking over each other because we think we think we know what the question asks. But in a courtroom, it's important to simply wait, hear the whole question, and then respond to it. Is all of that okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Direct examination, Mr. Chernoff.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Mr. Causey, how are you this morning?
I'm fine, thank you.
You nervous?
No.
No?
No.
All right. Mr. Causey, where do you live?
I live in Cedar City, Utah.
All right. And how did you get here today? How did you get to L.A.?
I drove.
Sure. Do you know this gentleman sitting to my left here?
Yes.
Dr. Murray?
Yes.
Indicating the defendant, Dr. Murray.
How long have you known him?
11 years.
11 years. Where were you living 11 years ago?
Las Vegas, Nevada.
Okay. I want to talk about the circumstances about how you got to know Dr. Murray. What happened 11 years ago that precipitated you meeting Dr. Murray?
I had a heart attack.
Okay. Can you give us some idea about how that occurred, where that was when that occurred?
I was at home early in the morning, approximately 4 o'clock.
Okay.
And they transported me to University Medical Center.
Okay. And when you got there, what occurred there?
They couldn't stop the heart attack. Then they called in Dr. Murray.
All right. And prior to that time, you had never met Dr. Murray before?
No.
All right.
Double negative.
Prior to 1999, you had not met Dr. Murray?
No.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. And what happened next?
He talked to me for a few minutes, told me the procedure that he was going to have to do, made sure that I understood exactly what I was going to go through. They had me sign some paperwork, which was, I think, a release or something to that effect. Then they took me upstairs to the operating room.
What procedure was going to be done?
he was going in through an angiogram and check and see what was causing the problem.
Okay. Now, prior to going to the hospital, had you known that you had heart difficulty?
I had high blood pressure.
Had you ever,
I knew that, and I took medication.
Had you ever had any indication that you were going to have a heart attack or any problems with your heart?
No.
So this was quite a shock. This was a shock to you.
Yes.
Were you scared?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
How old were you at the time, Mr. Causey?
57.
Okay. Tell us about the procedure that occurred.
They didn't knock me out. I didn't want them to do that.
They didn't, I'm sorry, repeat that?
They didn't sedate me. They give me pain medication, but I wanted to be awake to watch the procedure.
Okay.
He let me do that.
Mr. Causey, when you say you were not sedated, you were not knocked out. Is that what you're saying?
That's right.
All right.
Yes.
But you did receive certain medications to calm you down. Is that right?
Yes.
But you stayed awake.
Pardon me?
But you stayed awake during the procedure.
Yes.
All right. And what occurred during the procedure?
I watched him go up through my veins and arteries, find the problem. He told me he had found the problem. And the second that he put it in, there was no more pain.
Did you see that on the screen while that was happening?
Yes.
Did Dr. Murray explain to you what the process was and what the procedure was that he was doing?
Dr. Murray always explains everything.
Now, after the procedure, you would have, can you tell us, did you receive a stent during that procedure?
Yes.
How many stents did you receive?
One on that occasion.
Okay. After the procedure, did you have any follow-up visits with Dr. Murray?
Yes.
Okay. And how soon afterwards did you have that follow-up visit?
2 months. February.
Okay. And when I say follow-up, I mean go to Dr. Murray's office.
I had gone to the Dr. Murray's office. I think it was approximately 3 weeks after the procedure, first procedure, and he set me up for the second procedure.
Okay. And did he perform that second procedure as well?
Yes, he did.
And Mr. Causey, this was 10 or 11 years ago. Have you remained in contact with Dr. Murray?
Constantly.
And we don't want to go into things that Dr. Murray would have said to you or you said to him while this case is going on, okay? So focus on my questions. I'm going to be direct. But why the constant contact?
You can ask a leading question in this regard, focusing on the issues at hand, please.
Was the constant contact, was it because of your medical condition?
Partly, yes.
And what was the other part?
My friend.
Now, after your heart attack, after your stents were put in, did you develop a friendship with Dr. Murray?
Yes.
Okay. And that friendship has lasted till today?
Till today.
Now, you've had other doctors in the past, have you not?
I have.
And you've developed friendships with them as well?
No.
Well, why Dr. Murray?
It's because of Dr. Murray. The way he cares for you and the way he makes you feel and the concern and the love for you he has for you.
There have been allegations in this trial. Have you been watching this trial, Mr. Causey?
Some.
There have been allegations in this trial that Dr. Murray abandons his patients.
No.
Do you have an opinion about that?
Objection. This state's testimony. The testimony is he abandoned Michael Jackson.
The objection is, well, that may or may not be the case. The objection is overruled. You may answer it.
Would you repeat the questions, please?
Do you have an opinion about whether Dr. Murray has the type of character to abandon patients?
Never. He would not do that.
During the time periods that you visited Dr. Murray's office, did he rush you in and out and during the process, like some doctors might?
No, he took probably more time than he should. I've been in Dr. Murray's office on appointment 4.5 hours. And as a doctor patient and as a friend.
There have been allegations made that Dr. Murray does not inform patients about their process and procedures that they're going through.
The objection sustained. Ask the question.
Do
Thank
you,
you.
do you have an opinion about whether or not Dr. Murray is thorough in his discussions with patients about the dangers and process and procedures of their treatment?
Yes.
What is that opinion?
I don't think he could ever be too thorough, but he will spend the time that it takes. And he does it in, I call it layman's terms, okay, because he'll do it so that you perfectly understand it. He will let you ask questions. While you were there, he will call your family, make sure that they understand, and call my wife every appointment and told her exactly what what I was going through.
Do you have an opinion about whether Dr. Murray is motivated by money, that he's a greedy man? Do you have an opinion about that?
Yes.
And what opinion is that, Mr. Causey?
There's no way. He's not greedy. I
What do
mean,
you-
he doesn't charge me my deductibles or nothing. He never has. I've sent patients to him, my employees, my secretary, that he didn't even know if they had insurance, and he took care of them.
There was a time when you were treated, you had insurance, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay. And you're on Medicare, is that right?
I am now.
Okay. All right. When Dr. Murray, were you aware of when Dr. Murray took a job with Michael Jackson? Were you ever informed of that?
Yes.
Did you feel abandoned by Dr. Murray as a result of that?
Sustained.
What do you have an opinion about whether Dr. Murray abandoned his patients?
Objection asked and answered, Your Honor.
Sustained.
How did you become aware that he was taking the job?
He called me to his office and told me the position he was going to take. He told me that he would be back. He told me that he had made arrangements for me to have care. I have all of his phone numbers. Told me to call him anytime, and he would take care of what I needed.
Thank you for coming up here, Mr. Causey. That's all I have.
Mr. Chernoff, thank you. Cross-examination by the people.
Thank you,
Mr.
Your Honor.
Walgan.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Mr. Causey, when did you drive out to Los Angeles?
I have a problem here in...
I'm sorry. For purposes of your testimony, when did you drive out to Los Angeles?
I came down Monday night.
And you're staying in a hotel?
I did just yesterday, yes.
You've given a number of media interviews regarding this case, correct?
Say that again, please.
You've given a number of media interviews regarding this case, correct?
I have given 2.
Were you still being treated as a patient by Conrad Murray in 2009, or was your relationship social and as friends?
In 2009, I tell you, I cannot remember, but definitely friends. I can't remember the last time Dr. Conrad seen me professionally.
Can you give us a year, approximate year, that he saw you professionally?
It was 2008, 2009, but I would say 2008.
So when was it that Conrad Murray informed you that he was going to be leaving his practice and being the personal physician for Michael Jackson?
It was right before he left us to go to Michael Jackson.
Can you give us a month?
I cannot.
Could it have been around April 2009?
Could have been.
And you're not just a friend of Conrad Murray. You actually described him in your statement to the defense counsel as your best friend, right?
He's my best friend.
You email him via personal email accounts, correct?
No, I do not email him.
I think you said you have all his phone numbers and you talk to him on his personal cell phone.
Yes.
Now, when you were first treated by Conrad Murray, this was for a heart condition.
Yes.
Okay. Had nothing to do with a sleep disorder, correct?
No.
Had nothing to do with any...
Double negative.
Is it true that it had nothing to do with a sleep disorder?
Yes, it is true. Yeah.
And is it true it had nothing to do with any type of drug dependency issue?
No.
And when you first met him,
Could
that
you
was in a hospital.
I'm sorry,
correct?
you want something cleared up?
Yes, sir. I would like him to repeat the last question, please.
I'll ask the court reporter. The question was, did it have anything to do with a sleep disorder?
No.
Drug dependency?
No.
I think that was the last, wasn't
Thank
it?
you. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And when you first met him, you had a heart condition. This was in a hospital, correct?
Yes.
And before going into the procedure, Dr. Murray explained to you what was going to happen,
Yes.
and he had you sign some paperwork.
The hospital did.
You signed some paperwork.
Yes.
And this was about 11 years ago, correct?
Yes.
During the procedure, you looked up and you could see the monitors in the room. You indicated you looked up and saw that, correct?
I asked to watch it. Yes.
Yeah. And you said you looked up and you could see the screen showing what your heart was doing, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Had lines on it and showing the rhythm of your heart and your oxygen saturation, things of that nature, correct?
Yes.
How many other people were in the room other than Conrad Murray?
I think 3.
3 additional people?
Yes.
So 4 people in a hospital room with the monitors doing this procedure, correct?
Correct. Yes.
And all of your, I guess that was the initial single stent. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And then I may have misheard. Were there additional stents put in?
Yes.
Okay. And those were all done in a similar circumstance in a hospital with the equipment and personnel, correct?
Yes.
And it all related to a heart condition.
Yes.
You want to clarify something?
I would like to clarify
Mr.
something.
Walker?
Please.
My heart is good. Okay. I have a good, strong heart. I have real bad veins and arteries from cholesterol.
Okay.
So
But-
that created the heart attack.
Okay, but everything Dr. Murray did for you related to putting stents so your heart would function properly.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Walgren, thank you. Mr. Chernoff, redirect exam.
Mr. Causey, the media interviews you did, were you paid for those?
No.
Why did you do them?
To help my friend.
Well, why did he need that?
To help my friend.
Why did he need that help? What was the problem?
Excuse me. I didn't-
Why did he need that help, Mr. Causey? What was the problem?
Objection relevance, Your Honor.
I'm going to sustain the objection.
Mr. Causey, had you been seeing the press prior to doing your interviews? Had you been seeing the press reports about Dr. Murray?
Objection relevance, Your Honor.
Just a moment. You can ask, I'm going to sustain the objection, you can ask the witness to explain the basis for his giving any interview. You can rephrase.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Can you explain the basis for your decision of why you decided to give these interviews?
Objection, Your Honor. It's been asked and answered. He said to help his friend.
Overruled. You may respond if you'd like.
The reason I decided to help, or to come and help Dr. Murray if I can, is I've known him, I know his love, compassion, his feelings for his patients. You can ask every one of them, and they will say exactly the same thing. He's the best doctor I've ever been to because of the treatment, because of the clarity of what he's doing, and the follow-ups. And I just don't think he did what he's being accused of, and I wanted to help.
Okay, I have no other questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chernoff. Recross, Mr. Walgren?
Yes, please, Your Honor.
Thank you.
There's nothing in the world or any piece of evidence that would cause you to change your mind about Conrad Murray, correct?
I'm not going to say nothing will, but
Well, you don't.
what I know right now and what I feel, he didn't do it.
And if you assumed, I want you to assume, okay? I want you to assume that Conrad Murray acted with gross negligence in this case and caused the death of Michael Jackson, okay? You would still be here giving this testimony to the jury, correct? For your best friend?
I would be here, yes.
Thank you.
Walgren, thank you. Mr. Chernoff, redirect? No, Judge. Thank you. May Mr. Causey be excused, Mr. Chernoff?
Yes, of course.
Mr. Walgren?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Causey, I want to thank you for your testimony, sir. Please don't discuss your testimony or the facts of the case with any other witness until we finish the trial, and you may step down and leave, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Chernoff?
Andrew Guest, please. Andrew Guest.
No, it's not necessary. Thank you. And may I see counsel for just a moment, please? Thank you. Sure, Mr. Guest, thank you.
Sir, please stand in the witness box. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly state that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please be seated. Please state your name for the record. Spell your first and last names.
Andrew Guest, Andrew, Guest, Guest.
Microphone working.
The mic is working, and it's going to be my first admonition to Mr. Guest is to speak up a little bit.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Guest, good morning.
Good morning.
I do deliver certain instructions to witnesses in every case. Some people think it's unnecessary, but every witness is different, so I want to make sure you understand it. The first instruction is really do speak as loudly as you can into the mic. Why don't you click it? Just let's make sure it's working. Okay. Sometimes, because of the witness's position, we don't hear what we should, so do speak up using the mic, although you don't have to speak right on top of it. If you speak too closely, we'll get some really distracting feedback.
Okay.
So that's the first instruction. The second instruction is to sit back and relax. The third instruction is to please wait until you hear an entire question before you answer it, even though you may think what's being requested and you know the answer.
Okay.
So sit back, relax, answer loudly. When you're called upon to provide a yes or no answer to a question, answer yes or no rather than slang uh-huh or which can be really confusing. Is all of that acceptable?
Yes.
Thank you. Direct exam by the defense. Mr. Chernoff.
Mr. Guest, how are you?
Good morning.
Good morning. Where do you live?
I live in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Okay. How old are you?
I am 48 years old.
And how long have you lived in Las Vegas, Nevada?
I've lived there approximately 10 years.
All right. And can you tell us where you work? What you do?
I work at Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino as a locksmith.
Now, do you know this gentleman that's sitting to my left, Dr. Conrad Murray?
Yes, sir, I do.
Indicating Dr. Murray.
When did you first meet Dr. Murray?
I met Dr. Murray in April of 2002.
You would have been 39?
Correct.
How did you meet Dr. Murray?
I met Dr. Murray through my primary physician, Dr. Dixon. He referred me to Conrad Murray.
And what was the principal complaint that you had with your physician?
Chest pain, arm pain, headaches.
Did your principal physician take any kind of tests, do any kind of tests on you?
Yes, he did. He ran a EKG and I believe a couple other tests. I'm not certain of it, but he did run some other tests on me.
All right, and then he simply gave you the name of Dr. Murray and told you to go call him, or how did that happen?
No, Dr. Dixon actually called Dr. Murray on the cell phone. Dr. Murray was out of the country, I believe, at the time, and got in touch with him on the phone and made an appointment for me to see him as soon as I got back, or as soon as he got back into the country.
And when did you see Dr. Murray?
I saw him, I believe it was in early April
Of 2002.
of 2002.
All right. So, I mean, how soon after Dr. Dixon made this phone call did you see Dr. Murray?
I would say it would be just a few days.
All right. When you went in to see Dr. Murray, were you further examined?
Yes. Dr. Murray ran some tests. I believe he also did an EKG. And
Did you do a treadmill test?
no, I did not do a treadmill test. Dr. Murray stated that my past condition, family genetics, he stated to me that I could die during the stress test. So he would like to see me in a hospital environment where he had control. He had a team to back him up.
Well, did you go to the hospital for a specific purpose?
I don't understand.
After that, did you go to a hospital?
Yes,
Okay.
Yes, I saw him in his office, and I went into the hospital for the procedure itself.
And what procedure was that?
Started off as a angiogram.
Okay. And then how did it proceed from there?
He actually had to do some work and put in some stents.
Okay. How many stents were put in?
I'm not exactly sure. The first procedure, I believe it was 2 or 3 stents.
And do you know which hospital this was that you were treated at?
Yes, Desert Springs.
Tell me about the procedure. Tell us how it went. Were you knocked out? Did you observe the procedure?
I'm allergic to iodine, so it started off with Dr. Murray providing me a prescription to help me keep from having an allergic reaction to the iodine. Once I got into the facility, they actually did their portion of the procedure, putting in IVs and so forth. They also gave me Benadryl to help with the allergic reaction. I was wheeled into a room with the machinery. Dr. Murray came in with his team, and the procedure started.
All right. Were you awake during the procedure?
Yes.
You were?
Yes.
Do you recall being sedated?
Slightly,
Okay. You were
due
not?
to the Benadryl.
Okay. Did you receive any other sedation that you know of?
I don't know of any other sedation at that time. I know I was given a local, I believe, in the leg, so they can do the procedure.
You just remember being awake, though, during the procedure?
Correct.
All right. And you observed, can you explain where Dr. Murray ran this catheter through? What part of your body?
From the groin area and a major artery up through your major arteries up into your heart area.
And you were watching this on the screen while this was going on?
Correct, yes.
At any point, were you confused about what was happening? Did you know what was happening to you?
Never had it before, so I was real concerned watching the heart monitor, making sure it was still beating. But Dr. Murray stopped and asked me if I was okay and if everything was going well for me, and yes, it was.
How was the procedure? Did it resolve your chest pains?
It did resolve the chest pains.
And after the procedure, was that it, or was there more procedures required?
I had a procedure 1 month later. Same thing, stents.
Was this scheduled?
Yes.
Okay, well, tell us how you got to do that a month later.
The first procedure, if I recall right, there was an area in one of my arteries that Dr. Murray was concerned with being very thin, and I believe that the Desert Springs Hospital at the time didn't have the correct instruments to take care of that. So I was scheduled to go to another hospital a month later and ended up going back to Desert Springs Hospital once they got that equipment in.
Did Dr. Murray explain to you that's why he was not doing it on that date?
Correct. Yes, he was very worried about blowing the wall of my artery out.
Okay. Now, if I were to ask you, Mr. Guest, whether or not Dr. Murray was a reckless doctor, or whether he has care and treats patients with care and caution, would you have an opinion about that?
Yes, sir, I would.
What would that opinion be?
That man sitting there is the best doctor I've ever seen. He also explains everything he's going to do. He makes sure you're okay during the procedure. During the procedure, after the procedure, he's actually called me at home on a weekend and asked me how I was doing. And he's a great guy. I mean, he follows up with everything, makes sure everything's explained.
Thank you, Mr. Guest. Appreciate it. Pass the witness.
Mr. Chernoff, thank you. Cross-examination by the people. Mr. Walgren.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
You know Gerry Causey, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you travel out here with him?
I did not, sir.
Okay. You've done media interviews with him.
I have done one interview at CNN.
Who else was a guest on that show as far as Dr. Murray's patients?
Dennis and Ruby.
Dennis and Ruby, you know them on a first-name basis?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's Dennis Hicks and Ruby Mosley, is it?
Correct.
You guys have all kind of become friends?
As we meet, yes.
Okay. Now, you indicated when you received, again, all your treatment from Dr. Murray was for a heart condition, correct?
Correct.
And it took place in a hospital because it was important to Conrad Murray to have, quote, a team to back him up.
Correct.
And of course, when this procedure took place in a hospital, the team was there as well as the heart monitors and the necessary medical equipment, correct?
Correct.
And I don't mean to be flip, I mean this in all seriousness. Dr. Murray never gave you propofol in your bedroom, did he?
No, sir.
And wouldn't you agree? Is that a correct statement that Conrad Murray never gave you propofol in your bedroom?
Correct.
And wouldn't you agree that the level of care Dr. Murray gave you with a whole entire team to back him up in a hospital with the medical equipment, wouldn't you believe that every patient deserves that level of care? Would you agree with that statement?
Yes, sir, I do believe that that statement is true, but I
Thank
also
you.
believe that
Thank you. You've answered the question. Every patient deserves that level of care, correct?
Yes, sir. Am
Thank
I
you.
not-
The answer to the question.
Thank you.
Why?
Just a moment. Redirect?
Yes, Judge, thank you. Why? You were going to explain.
I said a team because that isn't a hospital environment. He provides service in his own office, great care in his office. He makes sure you're doing fine.
And Mr. Guest, that was literally a procedure you were getting at the hospital, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. It's an operation.
Yes, sir.
All right. Did CNN pay you for your interview?
No, sir.
Why did you do it?
I believe that Dr. Murray is not getting a fair shake. I believe he needs support, and I appreciate his kindness, his caring, and I'm alive today because of that man.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Guest.
Chernoff, thank you. Recross, Mr. Walgren?
And Mr. Guest, nothing would change your mind about Dr. Murray, correct?
No, sir.
That's a correct statement?
That is correct.
Thank you, Mr. Guest.
Mr. Walgren, thank you. We redirect, Mr. Chernoff?
No, Judge, thank you.
May Mr. Guest be excused, Mr. Chernoff?
Yes, Judge, thank you.
Mr. Walgren?
Yes, please, Your Honor.
Mr. Guest, I want to thank you for your testimony, sir. Please don't discuss your testimony or the facts of the case with any other witness until we finish the trial, and you may step down and leave, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chernoff?
Judge Lunette Sampson.
Hi, ma'am, will you please step into the jury box? The witness box. Yes, ma'am. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly state that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may be seated. Please state your name for the record. Spell your first and last names.
My name is Lunette Sampson. My first name spelled L-U-N-E-T-T-E. Last name S-A-M-P-S-O-N.
Good morning, Ms. Sampson.
Good morning.
Let me provide you with introductory instructions. First of all, please sit back and relax.
Okay.
Second of all, please speak loudly. We have to hear you.
Okay.
And you should speak in a loud voice. You don't have to get right on top of the mic because then we'll get some distracting feedback.
Okay.
Thirdly, if you are asked to provide a yes or no answer to a question, answer yes or no rather than using slang, or which can be confusing. And lastly, please wait until you hear an entire question before you even start to answer it. Many of us think we know what the question calls for, so we start to interrupt, but it's important to wait for the whole question and then respond. Is all of that okay?
It's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Direct examination, Mr. Chernoff.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Ms. Sampson?
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Where do you live, ma'am?
I presently live in San Diego, California now, but I formerly lived in Las Vegas, Nevada.
And when did you live in Las Vegas?
I lived in Las Vegas from November 2002 until just October 1st of this year.
When you were in Vegas, did you experience any physical problem?
I experienced a lot of physical problems. Actually, I had 3 heart attacks while I was in Las Vegas.
When was the first one?
The first one was November 2008. Prior to that, I'd had a bout with congestive heart failure, and the second one was 2009 around February, and the third one was probably around April 2009. And I had several bouts with congestive heart failure even after.
And your heart attack in 2008, that was about 3 years ago?
Yes.
All right. Can you give us some insight as to how that occurred, where you were, what happened?
Actually, I was on the freeway when I had the heart attack, and when I got to my destination, they called 911, and I was taken to the hospital. Can't remember exactly which hospital. I think it was Sunrise Hospital, and I told them Dr. Murray was my cardiologist, and he was out of town, and he had a covering doctor who saw me at the hospital.
All right. Now, Dr. Murray, you're referring to Dr. Conrad Murray?
Yes.
The man sitting to my left here?
Yes.
All right.
Indicating the defendant, Dr. Murray.
You had been treated by Dr. Murray for some time prior to your heart attack, is that right?
Yes, because when I don't know what year it was, but probably about 1995, I'd had a heart attack. And so I'd been seeing cardiologists in San Diego. And when I got to Las Vegas, my primary care doctor Dr. Conrad Murray, referred me to him.
Okay. And he was treating you with medications?
He was treating me with medications. And periodically, I was having these bouts with congestive heart failure, and I would end up in the hospital, and he would treat me, and retest me, and basically he took care of me through those years.
All right. Well, let's go back. Let's go down. You had your first heart attack, you said, in 2008? Or,
in Vegas, yes.
And you mentioned a heart attack you had in 1995?
Yes, which is what actually brought me to having to be seen by any cardiologist.
Okay. All right. So I got confused there. All right. During the period of time that Dr. Murray was treating you, Ms. Sampson, did he perform any procedures on you?
He performed many procedures on me. He found out that I had blockages in my heart. He repaired that. And I also had peripheral artery disease, and he repaired the arteries in both of my legs.
These problems that you're having, are they related to some underlying illness that you have?
You might be able, I don't know if they're related to, I'm a diabetic. It could be related to that.
Well, let's talk about this heart attack that you had, and Dr. Murray was not in town.
Okay.
What year did you say that?
How old will the objection?
What year did you say that was?
That was in 2008.
Okay.
And what actually happened was the doctor treated me at UMC Medical Center, and he gave me an angiogram to see if I had any blockages, and said that I was fine and that I had none. but I wasn't getting any better. And Dr. Murray, when he came back in town, of course, when I was released from the hospital, I did follow-up visits, and he said to me, he says, this is not right. He says, you're not getting better. If you're not getting better by the next time you come, he says, I'm going to have to repeat the test. He says, because I don't like what I see. He said, the pictures are not clear enough for me to determine what's going on in the back of your heart. So I didn't want to go through the testing, of course, so I tried to be better. And what actually happened is I ended up having a second heart attack in February.
All right.
And,
That's all right. The next question, please.
And then what happened after you had your second heart attack? Did you go see Dr. Murray?
Dr. Murray treated me, and he found out that I had at that time, 3 blockages in my heart. And he repaired 2 of them and made preparation to repair the other one at a later date. And he came, whatever hospital I was at, Dr. Murray came to that hospital because it wasn't always the same hospital. And
It's all right. The
Ms.
question?
Ms. Sampson, do you have an opinion about whether Dr. Murray treats his patients with care and caution?
I'll be very honest with you. I have never had a doctor that was more caring. Never. And Dr. Murray is a very caring doctor. He is a very thorough doctor. I don't understand to this day how the other doctor missed what was wrong with me, but Dr. Murray found what was wrong. And he also looked in my legs, and no doctor mentioned that, and never looked there, and found out that I had an arterial disease in my legs.
Is Dr. Murray the type of, do you have an opinion about whether Dr. Murray is the type of person to just rush through things, rush through procedures?
No, Dr. Murray is not the type to rush through procedures. Anyone knows that. And please forgive me for laughing, but when we come, we know we're going to be there a while because he's very careful to take care of his patients.
How about, do you have an opinion about whether Dr. Murray is greedy or money hungry or does things just for money?
I know Dr. Murray's not greedy or money hungry. He's taking care of patients. First of all, I was not anyone that had any money. And he's taking care of patients pro bono. I know for a fact that he's helped people that haven't had any money, even to the point of helping them to get medication. I know. When I say medication, I mean if they didn't have money to pay for their prescriptions, he helped them get their prescriptions when they needed it. So he helps anyone that needs help.
Thank you, Ms. Sampson. House witness.
Thank you, Mr. Chernoff. This cross-examination, Mr. Walgren.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Good morning, Ms. Sampson.
Good morning.
Ms. Sampson, who contacted you to first ask you to give information about your care from Dr. Murray?
I really don't know which one of the lawyers contacted me.
Do you remember Miranda?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Miranda, I think it's Sevchik, something of that nature? I may be mispronouncing it, but...
I remember, yes, saying that I would agree to be, I believe so.
And you communicated with this woman via email, correct?
Yes, by
And she
email.
asked you to submit a testimonial? That was
She just asked for something brief. And I gave her something brief relative to how long I knew him and what he probably had done for me.
And you learned from Miranda that she worked for Media Masters.
Objection to relevance.
I'll overrule the objection.
She worked for Media Masters.
I didn't know who she worked for, so I didn't know anything about.
Well, didn't you email her at miranda@mediamastersonline.net?
I couldn't swear to that.
Okay, it's possible.
It's possible, but I can't remember the email address.
And did you subsequently learn that Media Masters is a public relations firm that works for lawyers?
I didn't learn anything concerning that situation. I was just trying to be helpful.
All right. But you did send an email to her explaining what you've shared with us today?
Yes.
when did you learn that Dr. Murray was going to be, or was the personal physician for Michael Jackson?
It was not during my personal care. The only thing I knew is that he told me he was going to take a one-year sabbatical and that he was going to London. He never once mentioned Mr. Jackson, ever.
So you received that letter, though, indicating he's taking a one-year sabbatical?
No, he told me personally. I was being seen by him at that time, and I was being seen regularly because I was going through some kind of conditioning process, and I was at the office regularly.
And he told you
He
he's going to
just-
have to refer you to another doctor because
Yes.
he's closing his practice for a year.
Yes.
And you didn't ask him why he was closing his practice?
He said he was taking a sabbatical, so it wasn't any need to ask him. I did tell him that I was a little bit in despair because I didn't understand who was going to take care of me, and I just didn't trust my care to just anyone because of what had happened in the past.
Now, again, all of your care from Dr. Murray was involved problems with your heart, correct?
Yes.
And the medical procedures you indicated they occurred at a hospital, and you specifically said one of them was Sunrise Hospital.
That's where I was treated first, yes.
And have you heard about a discipline letter that Dr. Murray received from Sunrise Hospital in which the hospital informed Dr. Murray that on December 24th, and the letter's dated January 23rd, 2006, alleging that on December 24th, a patient of Dr. Murray had a malfunctioned pulsation
Objection
due...
to the form of the question.
I'll sustain the objection. You can preface everything with "have you heard" and restart because of the dates.
Have you heard that Dr. Murray received a discipline letter in which a patient, they informed Dr. Murray a patient had had pulsation problems due to blood in a tubing alarm, that a call was placed to Dr. Murray at 11 o'clock a.m., another call was placed to his answering service at 11:05 a.m., that he did not return the call until 12:41 p.m., at which point Dr. Murray advised that the hospital call a different doctor.
Objection to the form of the
That it-
question.
All right. The objection's overruled. This is all in the context of "have you heard." You may continue.
And then at 1:07 p.m.,
It's a compound question.
Overruled.
the hospital informed Dr. Murray that another doctor was not available. That Dr. Murray then said, "We'll have a nurse call a different doctor," and that eventually Dr. Murray showed up at 1:56, approximately 3 hours after the initial call, and that in that letter they expressed the concern that there was a serious risk of blood clotting. Have you heard about that discipline letter from Sunrise Hospital?
No, why would I hear about that? But Dr. Murray didn't treat me at Sunrise. It was his covering doctor treated me at Sunrise, I believe.
And let me ask you about that. The first doctor that treated you, you felt he made mistakes, correct?
I know he did.
Okay. And Dr. Murray was able to review all the medical records of that first doctor to find out exactly what had happened.
Yes.
Right? Because that first doctor maintained all those medical records and provided them to Conrad Murray, correct?
Yes, I was
Thank you.
supposed. Yes.
Ms. Sampson.
Mr. Walgren, thank you. This is redirect.
Yes,
Mr.
please.
Chernoff.
Thank you, Judge. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Were you aware that the letter that Mr. Walgren is referring to deals with hospital rules and regulations? Were you aware of that? You just never heard anything about it, have you?
I never heard anything about a letter, and I've never been aware of any letter, and most patients are not.
That particular hospital has a rule that a doctor needs to call in an hour and 20 minutes. You weren't aware of that either,
No,
right?
I was not.
And you weren't aware that during that time that Dr. Murray was being covered by another physician. You didn't know about any of that stuff, right?
No,
Okay.
it didn't concern
And
me.
why would you, right?
Right.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Chernoff, thank you. This recross, Mr. Walgren?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. May Ms. Sampson be excused, Mr. Chernoff?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Walgren?
Yes,
Ms.
please,
Sampson?
Your Honor.
Ms. Sampson, thank you for your testimony. Don't discuss your testimony or the facts of the case with any other witness until we finish the trial, and you may step down and leave. Thank you. Mr. Chernoff?
Dennis Hicks, Judge.
Sir, please remain standing and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly state that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please be seated. Please state your name for the record. Spell your first and last names.
My name is Dennis Hicks, Dennis Hix.
Mr. Hicks, good morning.
Good morning.
Let me provide you with some introductory instructions. First of all, please sit back and relax. Okay? But not too far back or you'll go backwards. You may want to scoot up a little closer to the microphone.
I got my knee hooked under here. So
Okay. Sometimes it's better to scoot up just a little bit. We need to hear you, but you don't have to speak right on top of the mic.
Gotcha.
If you're called upon to provide yes or no answers, answer yes or no rather than slang which can be confusing. And lastly, please wait until you hear an entire question before you answer it. It's important that we don't have people talking over each other, even though we think we may know what the answer is going to be to a particular question. All right?
Gotcha.
Thank you. Direct by the defense. Mr. Chernoff.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Hicks.
Morning.
I met you last night for the first time.
Yes, sir.
Is that right? And where do you live?
I live in Banning.
Banning.
Half hour short of Palm Springs.
Okay. Did you drive in?
I did.
When did you drive in?
I drove in yesterday.
Okay. How long have you lived in Banning, Mr. Hicks?
About a year.
Okay. And prior to that, where did you live?
I lived in Las Vegas.
What do you know the man sitting here to my left?
Mr. Conrad Murray.
Indicating the defense. Dr. Murray.
How do you know him, Mr. Hicks?
When I moved to Las Vegas, a couple years after I had been there, I bought a home. And it was right next door to his children. So when I was there going through my walkthroughs and all, I met him one day at the house. He introduced himself, told me he was a cardiologist, and we got his number and went from there. I needed one because I have heart problems, have had for a long time.
What year was this?
I believe it was either 99 or 2000.
And you said you had heart problems. What kind of heart problems did you have?
My heart was blocked. Half of my heart was blocked off. I found that out by going to a doctor down where I live, down near Fontana. He gave me an angiogram and told me I was very lucky that my little tiny veins that grew around the blockage. I wasn't too happy with that. I wanted him to fix it. So
when did you find this out?
That was approximately maybe 2 or 3 years before I met Dr. Murray.
All right.
Maybe even more.
So did this cardiologist do a procedure and fix your problem? Or?
No, he said it couldn't be fixed.
Well, how'd that make you feel?
Well, I told him I wanted it fixed now while I'm young enough to, to be able to recuperate from it. And he got angry with me.
Can you explain what you mean by that? Were you being...
I'm a standing objection under 352.
What treatment did you receive?
He gave me some pills. I believe it was a Tenorol was the name of it.
Okay. So when you moved to Vegas, you already had this pre-existing problem.
I did.
Tell me the symptoms that you were experiencing as a result of that.
I don't get symptoms like normal people. When my heart starts blocking up, I get a feeling in my jaws like I just sucked a lemon. You know, so if you ever get that, watch it. But
Well,
yeah,
don't
it's-
speak directly
Oh, I'm sorry.
to the jury. The witness is indicating on either side of the jawline?
Yes, yes.
All right, thank you.
And what about your breathing? Your
Oh, I couldn't hardly walk to my mailbox because it was downhill. So to come back was a strain.
All right. Now, at some point, did you then call Dr. Murray?
Yes, approximately maybe 2 months after I actually moved into the house, I felt like we needed a doctor there in Vegas, and we had his card, so we called him up.
All right. And you scheduled an appointment with
I
him?
did. I explained to him what my problem was, and I explained to him that the other doctor said it couldn't be fixed, and he said, I can fix that. And he did,
And this was in 2000?
roughly. And I'm not real sure if it was 01, 2000, or 9. I just know he fixed it.
So after Dr. Murray said, I can fix that, what procedure did you get, or were you involved in that fixed it?
I went into the hospital. He does his procedures all at once. He gives you the angiogram, and if there's something wrong, he fixes it on the spot. So when he gave me that, he found out that I was indeed blocked, although he already knew that because he gave me tests that showed my heart. And he took the x-rays and he said, here, this is where your heart is blocked. And I could clearly see that my heart was all blocked. And then when he was done, he gave me 7 stents the first month. And then he showed me I've cleared this half out with the x-rays. And then approximately a month to a month and a half later, he gave me the final 6 or 7. And when he was done, I was good to go.
And this was
Approximately 2000, 2001.
11 years ago.
Yep. Yes.
What, if I were to ask you if you had an opinion about whether Dr. Murray showed patience and loyalty to his patients, would you have an opinion about that?
I would.
What would that opinion be?
Well, I'm 66. I've gone to a lot of doctors, and I've never had one who gave me the care that he did.
What about greed? Is he a greed?
When I went to see him, I had a type of insurance that didn't hardly pay for nothing. And I explained to him I can't really afford to do a lot of stuff, so he did it for me free. And then after I got my stents, it's kind of funny, my brother said, I want those. I want some of those.
The objection sustained. The answer remains. The partial answer dealing with the brother is stricken disregard.
Your brother is, what is your brother's name?
Jerry.
Jerry. Was he experiencing physical problems with his heart?
Before I did. He never had the money to get it fixed. He didn't have insurance at all.
Did your father have these heart problems as well?
I don't know. My father died real young. My mother did, though.
So your brother, when he was experiencing these problems, did you suggest that you take him to Dr. Murray?
He suggested I take him there. Once I got fixed, he told me, I want some of those. I want those in me. Because he had a real problem with angina since he was young.
All right. So he went to see Dr. Murray with you.
He did.
And what was his? You were there with him at the time. Can you tell us what transpired there?
Dr. Murray said, you need to go to emergency. You're playing with your own life. And he said, I can't afford to. He didn't want to lose a lousy little house. He didn't want to lose what he had to go into a hospital with no insurance. So Dr. Murray said, okay, don't worry about it. I'll treat you free until you can turn 65. And he did.
Thank you very much. I'll pass the witness.
Chernoff, thank you. It's cross-examination by the people. Mr. Walgren?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
have you maintained contact with Dr. Murray since your treatment in, I believe you said 2000?
Well, yes, because I'd gone to see him after that also. I got the stents in 2000, but he was also my doctor. When I got sick, I'd go see him.
And he was your, I'm sorry, was he your next door neighbor? Is that what you said?
No, his children lived next to me.
He did not?
No,
Did he?
no.
Thank you.
And when did you said you continued to see him as a doctor. Did that care continue all the way to 2009? Or?
It did.
And did you receive a letter from Dr. Murray telling you he was going to be closing his practice and going overseas?
I did.
And did he explain to you why he was doing that?
The letter was self-explanatory.
Well, it says he was going on a sabbatical. Did he tell you any other details?
No.
When did you learn that he was going to be Michael Jackson's personal doctor?
I didn't even know it until I seen it on TV.
So he never told you that?
No.
So he just sent you a letter and you got it in the mail and it said, I'm no longer your doctor, I'm taking a sabbatical?
It wasn't quite like that.
What can you explain?
Just a moment, please. The
He's-
objections, one moment, please. The objection sustained. The last answer is stricken disregard. Re-ask, please.
But you never had verbal communication with Dr. Murray about that. Is that accurate?
I did have verbal confirmation with him about it.
Okay, but he just didn't mention Michael Jackson.
Correct.
Okay. And then you got the sabbatical letter saying he was going to take a leave because a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity arose, or something to that effect, correct?
Exactly.
Now, in your care with Conrad Murray, again, it was all for your heart and it involved these stents,
That was partially it, yes.
and he did very detailed care. He monitored your heart,
When I was in his office, he did.
took x-rays,
He sent me places to get x-rays.
kept medical records.
You'd have to ask him. That's above my scope.
Well, you commented that you had x-rays and that you commented that he monitored your heart, correct?
Yes?
And when was the last time Dr. Murray put in a stent?
I believe it was around, he put one more in after the first 13 or 12 or whatever it was. A couple years later. I was exhibiting,
I'm just at, when was the year that he put in the last stent?
I don't know,
Can you estimate for me, please?
approximately 3 years after my first one, which was in either 2000, 2001.
Okay, so the last time he did anything as far as a stent in your heart was around 2003, is that fair?
Or 4, yes.
2003.
Or 5, I mean, boy,
I'm sorry?
it could have been 4 or 5. It could have been anywhere in there. I didn't really mark it on my calendar.
Okay. But that was the last time he had done any heart procedure regarding these stents?
Yes, he still treated me for other stuff after that.
Did he ever treat you for sleep disorders?
No.
Drug dependency?
No?
Thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Walden, thank you. Mr. Chernoff, redirect.
No, Judge, thank you.
Thank you,
Oh,
Mr. Chernoff, may Mr. Hicks be excused?
Yes.
Mr. Walden?
Yes, thank you, Your
Mr.
Honor.
Hicks, give me a moment, please.
okay.
Please don't discuss your testimony and the facts of the case with any other witness until we finish the trial. And now you may step down and leave, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Walgren? Mr. Chernoff?
Okay. Can we take a break? Is it possible for us to do that?
Can I ask you to see counsel for a moment? Pause, ladies and gentlemen. That refreshes. Mr. Chernoff, you may call your next witness.
It's Roby Mosley, Judge.
Thank you.
To the witness stand for us, please.
We can have one of you.
Debaters.
Watch your step there, Mrs. Mosley, if you would, and Mr. Chernoff will assist.
Ma'am, can you please raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly state that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record. Spell
Ruby.
your first and last name.
Okay, Roby Mosley, Mosley.
And Ms. Mosley, how's your first name spelled?
Ruby.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Let
how
me
are you?
provide you with some introductory instructions.
Okay.
And these are instructions I give to every witness in every case. The first instruction is to please relax and sit back.
Okay.
The second is to speak loudly, and you've got a microphone in front of you. So just speak in a loud voice. The microphone's sensitive enough, it'll pick up your voice without you having to strain. The third instruction is to answer questions yes or no if you're called upon, rather than using slang. And the last instruction is to please wait until you heard an entire question before you even start to answer it. A lot of us are used to interrupting each other because we think we know what's being asked, so we want to shorten things. But it's important to just wait for that whole question and then respond, so we don't have people talking over each other. Is that acceptable?
Fine.
Thank
No
you.
problem.
Direct by the defense. Mr. Chernoff?
Yes, Judge, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Mosley.
Good morning.
We have spoken several times before, haven't we?
Yes.
Can you tell us where you live?
I live in Houston, Texas.
And how long have you lived in Houston, Texas?
Since January the 1st, 1949.
And you moved there from where?
I moved there from Mahare, Texas, a little oil field town between Houston and Dallas.
And then you subsequently went to college at Prairie View?
I went from Mahare, I went to Prairie View College. And on January the 1st, 1949 is when I went to Houston, but I continued to go to school.
Where in Houston do you live currently?
I live at 862.
Not
The-
your
okay.
address. Just
We'll strike
In the
out
Acreage Home area.
We'll strike out the numbers.
Okay.
yeah, just what community?
Acres Home Community.
All right. Can you tell us what Acres Home Community is? What kind of what kind of community that is?
Oh, I'd be happy to. Acres Home Community is a approximately 75% senior citizen area. Most all homeowners. We have 3 colleges, 3 school districts.
Pretty large area?
Yes, it is.
And how long have you lived in Acres Homes?
Since 1949.
And you seem to know it pretty well.
Yes.
Are you involved in any of the associations there?
Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, I started voting in 1949 when I became 18 years old. I had to buy what was called then a poll tax receipt, I've never stopped voting.
Objection, relevance.
One of the
Just a
biggest.
moment, please. Yes, the objection will be sustained.
Okay.
The answer, lived since 1949, remains.
Yes.
Everything thereafter is stricken. Disregard the remainder.
All right.
The next question, Mr. Chernoff.
Yeah, I'm actually interested in whether, I understand you're secretary of an association there with Acres Homes. What association
right?
is it? Is that a yes?
Yes.
What association, Ms. Mosley?
Acres Home Citizens Council,
Okay. And how long have you been a secretary for them?
over 31 years.
Okay. And what does this Citizens Council do?
Okay, the Acres Home Citizen Council is a organization that is comprised right now of 15 civic clubs in the community, and it was organized over 31 years ago.
Overruled. The answer will remain. The question.
During that, tell us, you've explained that Acres Homes is mostly senior citizen. What is the economic makeup of Acres Homes?
Objection, relevance.
Overruled. You may answer.
The Acres Home is mostly seniors, but they're low income.
Okay. Is it
75% of them are seniors, low income.
and has it historically always been a low-income community?
No, it has not been, but now it is.
Okay. And how long has that been the case?
Oh, God, that's been over 30 years.
Okay. In this particular community, do you have consistent medical care?
Yes, I do.
And I mean the community itself.
And the community itself.
Okay. Now I want to talk about who was the gentleman next to me, Dr. Conrad Murray. Do you know him?
I know him very well.
Indicating Dr. Murray, the defendant.
Yes.
And in fact, you know his father.
Yes.
How do you know his father?
Sustained, 350 and 352.
When did you meet Dr. Conrad Murray?
I met Dr. Conrad Murray in 2006.
Okay. And how did you meet him?
He opened a clinic. His dad, well, the first time I met him was 2003 because his dad passed away and we met him then.
Okay. And his dad, did he live in Acres Homes?
Objection, relevance, Your Honor.
Sustained,
How did you know his father?
Objection, relevance.
sustained. Met the defendant, Dr. Murray, 2003 after his father passed.
So you met him at his father's funeral, was your testimony? Is that
Yes,
right?
I did.
Okay. And then in 2006, you say you met him again when he opened a clinic.
Yes.
Where was this clinic?
His clinic was on Tidwell across the street from Doctor's Hospital
Do you
in Acres Home.
do you know the circumstances of that opening of that clinic?
Objection, relevance, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't have to answer.
Okay.
Thank you. That partial answer will be stricken. Disregard it.
Ms. Mosley, let me ask you this. Do you think Dr. Murray's greedy?
Do I think?
Yes, ma'am.
No.
Do you have an opinion about whether he is?
If this man had been greedy, excuse me, Judge, if this man had been greedy, he never would have come to an area or community of Acreage Home, 75% of them poor, on welfare and Social Security, where he was making less than where he was in Vegas.
Well, Ms. Mosley, why did he do it?
Why did he do it?
I'm sorry. Pardon me? What?
Why did he do it?
Objection calls for speculation.
The objection sustained to the form of the question. There's a little partial answer which is stricken. Disregard. Re-ask.
Do you know why he did it?
Yes.
Why?
He made a commitment to the community that he would open a clinic in honor of his dad to come to the community and continue to take care of the patients in that community where his dad had been a physician for a number of years.
How many years was his dad physician?
Overruled. You may answer.
His clinic was opened in 1968 on West Montgomery.
And he died in 2003.
Yes, sir.
Did that leave a vacuum in the community?
Yes, it did.
Ms. Mosley, have you ever been treated yourself by Dr. Murray?
Oh, yes, I have.
And what was that for?
I had a blockage in my heart.
And this was in your arteries, is that right?
Yes.
What procedure was given to you by Dr. Murray?
Stents were placed.
And they were placed in your arteries.
Yes.
Has your husband been treated by Dr. Murray?
Oh, he was my husband's doctor, yes, before I was.
Okay. And what procedures did Dr. Murray do for your husband?
He was treating my husband for the same conditions that I had before I started going to him.
How old is your husband?
How old is he?
Yes, ma'am.
My husband is 82 years old.
All right. And he is back in Houston?
He is in Houston.
And
He's still living.
He's doing all right?
He's better.
Okay. I'm going to pass the witness.
Chernoff, thank you. This will be cross-examination by the people. Mr. Walgren?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Mosley.
Good morning.
Now, you would see Dr. Murray in Houston regularly
Yes.
when he would be out there?
Yes.
Did you ever meet one of his female friends, Sade Anding?
It doesn't ring a bell with me.
No? Did you meet social friends of his, or was it more at the clinic where you would see Dr. Murray?
I saw Dr. Murray at the clinic seeing patients.
Okay, so you don't know what he did in his personal time, correct?
That was not an interest to us, no.
So that's correct.
Yes.
And Ms. Mosley, you described in your interview with, I believe, Mr. Chernoff, you described Dr. Murray as an encyclopedia, right? That was your word?
I didn't use the word encyclopedia.
Can I show you the notes from your interview with Mr. Chernoff?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
We have to hear it a yes or no.
Yes.
All right, thank you. See if that refreshes your memory, Ms. Mosley.
Okay.
Thank you.
These are my notes, right?
Just show the witness something, see if it refreshes her memory or not, and we'll find out.
Ms. Mosley, this line here that I'm pointing to.
The witness is being shown a document.
He is an encyclopedia.
No. You don't have. Just read it
Okay.
to yourself. The partial answer stricken. Disregard that.
Ms. Mosley, does that
What is this word?
very
Well,
knowledgeable?
And when you say very
I'm
knowledgeable.
asking you, does this refresh your recollection as to what you told Mr. Chernoff?
Yes.
Okay. So did you describe Dr. Murray as an encyclopedia?
Very knowledgeable.
Very precise on details?
Yes.
Okay, able to recite details regarding medical care?
Yes.
Past appointments, things of that nature. You can recite the care that's been given and the plan of action for future care?
Yes.
And in that respect, would you call him an encyclopedia? Detail-oriented?
If that's the word you want to use, I would call it very informed doctor.
And able to recount and recite details as it relates to medical care?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Mosley.
Mr. Walgren, thank you. Ms. Chernoff, redirect.
Ms. Mosley, what do you mean by very knowledgeable?
What do I mean by very knowledgeable?
Yes.
Very proactive.
Proactive?
Very.
For
Extremely.
What do you mean?
Very knowledgeable. Very proactive. And took time with the patients.
During the period of time that Dr. Murray, after Dr. Murray opened his practice, he would come every 2 weeks, is that right?
Yes.
And would there be lots of patients to see him?
Oh, yes.
What was it like?
Sustained. Refine.
What was it like?
Well, that's what
Okay.
we're going to find out.
Do you
what
understand
Mr.
the
Chernoff
question?
means.
Mm-hmm.
You do understand the question?
Yes.
It's not vague to you?
I'm sustaining the objection.
Oh, okay. Okay. How do you know that he had lots of patients?
How do I know?
Yes, ma'am.
Because most of the time I was there.
You saw it.
Yes. And we knew 99 and 10% of the patients that were there
How did you know?
because we work with them.
Okay. You, during the time that you spent with Dr. Murray, when you were able to see him, did he take his time with you?
Very.
Did he explain things to you?
Yes.
How well?
To the extreme that when you went to the doctor in his office, you did not see a sign when you walked in that say, pay at the time services rendered. You did not see a sign that said, present your ID or your insurance card. You saw the doctor first. And with the doctor, not only were you with the doctor, but the doctor sat there and talked with you and let you tell him about your problems, but he did the education first. The education included assisting you in how and the do's and don'ts of better taking care of yourself.
How long did these appointments usually take?
Oh, God, they could go an hour.
No rush.
There was never no rush, and other patients were waiting. He saw every patient and given them equal time.
No matter how long it took?
No matter how long it took, and we didn't rush.
Do you miss Dr. Murray?
Do I miss him? Yes.
Just a moment, please.
Objection relevance.
The objection is sustained. The answer is stricken. Disregard, please.
That's all I have. Thank you, Ms. Mosley.
Okay.
Mr. Chernoff, thank you. Recross, Mr. Walgren?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. May Ms. Mosley be excused, Mr. Chernoff?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Walgren?
Please.
Thank you. Ms. Mosley, I want to thank you for your testimony.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Mosley, please don't discuss your testimony or the facts of the case with any other witness
I will
until
not.
the trial is concluded.
I will.
You may step down carefully. You'll be assisted by one of our deputies. You're excused. Thank you, ma'am.
You're more than welcome.
Thank you. May I see counsel? Ladies and gentlemen, as I'm used to doing, I'm going to explain to you that we have another scheduling issue. I became aware that this was a definite scheduling issue early this morning, right before we took the session. So what we're going to do is we're going to excuse you for the rest of today. Once again, I don't know for sure about these scheduling issues until they hit me, and this particular scheduling issue was made abundantly clear this morning. We have made arrangements to try to get you lunch a little earlier, so I hope you can be hungry, or else you can take a doggy bag. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the recess, and again, it's with my apologies because I would rather be efficient and have you here the whole day, but regrettably we can't. So once again, I continue to thank each of you individually for your patience in this matter. I'm going to deliver to you the admonition. It's usually the late afternoon admonition, but it's going to be the mid-morning admonition at this point. It still has the same impact. Please do not discuss this case among yourselves or with anyone else, or form or express any opinions about the case until it is submitted finally to you. Do not visit any scene or location that may be referenced, mentioned, or involved in this case. Do not perform any experiments or on your own or through another person conduct any independent research or investigation on any topics, subjects, or persons mentioned or involved in this case. This means not coming into any contact whatsoever with any television or radio programs, newspaper or magazine articles, books, or the internet regarding these subjects. Don't watch anything, hear anything, read anything, or write anything about any of these topics, subjects, or persons mentioned or involved in the case. Do not access on your own or through another person any internet websites, including but not limited to any search engine sites such as Google, Ask, or Bing, or social network sites, including but not limited to Facebook or MySpace, Gesundheit, regarding any of these topics, subjects, or persons. Text or tweet anything about them. Access any blogs, access any messages, post any messages on any sites regarding any of these topics, subjects, or persons. Do not have any contact or communication whatsoever with the defendant, the attorneys, witnesses, or spectators. Don't allow anybody to speak to you about anything related to this case. If anyone attempts to speak to you or tries to establish any contact with you regarding any of these matters, so that at the time or at a later point in time you can contact a person or organization regarding these topics, immediately cease such encounter and immediately notify the court staff and the security as well. Do all of you continue to assure us and promise us you will follow unhesitatingly the written admonitions as well as my continuing verbal admonitions? Yes. All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I wish you a good lunch. With regard to the rest of the day, if you have business or professional responsibilities and you feel the inclination, by all means go for it. If you have personal responsibilities, by all means undertake them. Enjoy the rest of the day. We will be ready for you tomorrow morning at 8:45 a.m. And again, thanks for your patience and enjoy your day. Thank you. Good day.